Yo, how are we doing, everybody? So, today I would like to talk about learning Japanese with games, primarily RPGs. I do a lot of RPG content on my channel. When I'm recording, I usually do so in English, since that's the language that most of the people watching my videos know. However, I enjoy playing games in Japanese. It has taken me a good while. Like, I've been studying Japanese for a few years now, and I'm still at a beginner intermediate level. I'm not a very advanced Japanese learner, but even with that being the case, I can still play games in Japanese. And I think playing games in Japanese is an amazing way to learn. There's a lot of people that might tell you that you need to use textbooks, you need to take proper classes, but honestly, you can learn Japanese however you want to. There's so many different resources that we can use nowadays. YouTube, I think, is an amazing resource, as there's so many channels out there where you can learn about grammar, vocabulary, pitch accents. Like, there's so many tools that you can use. And for me, I really like learning through games. As really, I think, in my personal experience, one of the best ways to, or well, one of the primary ways to learn a language is reading. Like, you need to read, and you need to read a lot. You need to expose yourself to the language. It doesn't really matter how you choose to expose yourself to the language. There's so many different ways, and I think all of them are valid. The one that I personally really enjoy is video games. And I do typically tend towards RPGs, as role-playing games tend to have a lot of text. There's a lot to read via dialogue with NPCs, maybe looking at menus. Even tutorials that are in games can actually be a facet, like something you can use to learn with. And I think it's a lot of fun. For me, when I first started trying to play games in Japanese, I started with Pokemon Red, the original, as that game is all kana. It is all written in Hiragana and katakana, which is two of the writing forms for Japanese. And Hiragana is absolutely where you want to start, as if you can read things in Hiragana, it allows you to access so much content. There's so many learning methods that you're locked away from when you can only read in English. Mind you, there is also kanji. That's the third writing system. So there's a bit to it. There's a bit you need to learn to get full access to everything, but we have to start somewhere. And generally, I think a lot of people, when it comes to hiragana, they highly recommend just looking at the hiragana and writing it down yourself over and over and over and over again. Maybe using flashcards and just looking at those cards again and again and again. And I think that's very boring. I don't think it's very interesting. I think using video games can be so much more entertaining, but it's difficult doing that at first. It's really difficult to start off if you have no knowledge whatsoever about hiragana, what each character is, how you're supposed to pronounce it, how they sound. So you do need some form of basis. Like, I agree with people that do say there's a little bit you need to do before you can really start to go out there, but I don't think it's necessarily what they are arguing. I don't think that you need those textbooks. I don't think you need to write everything down quite like how they're suggesting. Instead, there are other forms. Like, there's apps you can use, like say Duolingo. And this game right here, which is literally called Learning Japanese, it's Learn Japanese RPG. And with this game, we are going to literally be learning Hiragana, as it is the tool that we use to defeat monsters, which I think is very interesting. Essentially, this is an RPG game. It is an indie game, very small scope, but its goal is to help people learn Hiragana, which I feel is the very first step you need to really be able to play games in Japanese. Because, again, Pokemon Red, for instance, that game is all in Hiragana and Katakana, and if when I was playing that, really with such basic knowledge of Japanese, like there's so little vocabulary that I had, like I couldn't really understand almost anything that any of the characters were saying, but it really helped me to build that foundation to be like, oh, okay, so this is what this character looks like, this is how these characters can connect to form words, and it really helped me to get that start where I was then able to start taking in vocabulary rather than just trying to recognize the characters. Like now I can look at the characters and I recognize them immediately. This game right here, that's what it is trying to do. It is very much like a standard JRPG in that you're going to walk around, you're going to encounter monsters, and it's interesting because the way you defeat them is through typing the romaji, like the English way of pronouncing those words, like ko, for instance. So if you're trying to write ko, you would write that with K and O, and it's pronounced ko. And we're going to do that with all the characters, all the hiragana. Though starting off, you're only going to be doing that with a few. Like you're going to start off with just the first 5. A, I, U, E, and O. Oh, actually, no, they do actually include N. And they do that so that at the beginning, there's a couple of words that you'll be able to use. A couple of words so that you'll be able to express a couple of basic ideas through the combination of those first 6 characters that the game introduces you to. And I think that's very amazing because through a JRPG where, you know, you're typically grinding, fighting a bunch of monsters, it's taking that same concept where instead of leveling up, where, you know, your HP's going up, your strength is going up, that's not really what we're trying to do. Instead, we're trying to improve our experience, the player's experience with Japanese, with hiragana. As you continuously use a, I, U, E, O, and N, you're going to become familiar with them. And through that familiarity, you're learning Japanese. And I just think that's so cool because, like, there's just not really good ways to learn hiragana outside of rote memorization, just writing it down or looking at flashcards a bunch of times. So instead, I get to do boss fights. Like, there will be a giant boss that's, like, defeating a character that I was traveling with, like, you know, and I cared about him. So now it's like this revenge quest where I'm trying to defeat this monster. And I think that's just so engaging and entertaining. And I think that's really what's important when it comes to learning a foreign language, is to enjoy the experience. We learn better when we actually enjoy what we're doing. So this indie game just came out today. I hope you guys will give it a shot if you're interested in learning Japanese and learning hiragana. But yeah, that's going to be me. Thank you for checking out this video. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments down below. And hopefully I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.